Hi there, I'm Kanye. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, I'm taking you back over 100 years, back to the Victorian era to be exact. No, I'm not in England. I'm actually in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Come with me. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to experience with me the fascinating home of Katherine Love.
Yes, this is a museum with a difference because it's my home as well as being a museum. The house is completely furnished as a home of about the 1890s or early 1900s would have been, a British upper middle class home. So it's got everything that a home of that period would have required. I'm dressed as the parlour maid. People always ask me why I don't dress as the lady of the house. It's just impossible to do anything if you're wearing ladies' clothes. So that's why I dress as the maid.
So what are the visitors' cards for?
Well, every time you went to pay a call, a formal call, you had your cards with you. If you were coming to the house for the first time, you would hand your card to the butler and he would take it on a silver tray to the lady of the house and ask her whether she was at home to this person or not. But if you were a regular visitor, the butler would know your name, so he would just announce you at the drawing room door, and then on your way out you would leave your card on the tray to remind the lady that you had paid a formal call and you expected a call in return. You have a beautiful card case to hold the cards, mother of pearl, silver, tortoiseshell, and so on.
Oh, wow.
They entertain their visitors. It's very full and cluttered, but that is typical of the period. They thought it was in very bad taste to see an empty space anywhere.
Katherine explains how tea was served. Tea time was a ritual.
When she wanted to make the tea, the servants would bring in a kettle of boiling water on a stand with a little burner underneath to keep it boiling. It's designed so you can just tip it without having to pick up the heavy pot so that the lady could make the tea in the drawing room. During the day, the ladies could sit near the window, take advantage of any light that was allowed to come in to see to do their embroidery. No lady ever sat with idle hands. Always busy with some kind of embroidery or beadwork, hair work, shell work, feather work, every type of work.
I think women are still the same. We still keep ourselves busy.
Busy, yes. And this is a cozy corner where you could sit a cold winter's night close to the fire. These screens were to protect a lady's face from the fire so that she didn't get a flushed complexion. A lady's workbox with all her needlework tools.
And this wallpaper, is it?
Well, we hunted for years to find a suitable wallpaper. Eventually, we just gave up and designed a stencil, so I painted the walls.
You painted
Yes.
these? How long did it take you to do that?
About 6 weeks.
For the whole room?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And how long has it taken you to collect these pieces?
Well, my mother started collecting antiques when she was a child, so it's her lifetime and mine. I was about 15 when I began to collect. So my mother started the museum about 50 years ago, but it wasn't open to the public at that time. It's only after her death that I opened it to the public. It's about 21 years now that I've been doing tours.
And was it her intention originally to make it a museum?
It was
or
always
was
her
it
intention that it should be left as a museum when she and I are both dead. But I didn't see why I should wait until I'm also dead. I want to enjoy having the museum right now. So my mother didn't want to be bothered with people coming all the time to see the house, but I'm quite used to it. I don't mind the inconvenience of having my home open to the public.
Yeah, and of course everybody's got to be very careful because
Yes.
all of these items
Oh,
are
yes.
very priceless items.
I don't
that you
allow
have.
anyone to touch anything in the museum.
Oh, okay. And I understand you actually do the cleaning of the house
I
yourself.
did until very recently, but
Okay.
a friend is now sponsoring a cleaning lady twice a week, which is a great help because we managed to find a very careful lady who is trained to work with antiques,
Okay.
so she is able to do
Wow.
it. That's the attic stairs. The servants would have slept in the attic in those days.
Oh my goodness.
Dining room. With all this decoration on the table, you can't even see the person on the other side, but you never spoke across the table, only to the people on each side of you. So during one course you talk to the person on your left, next course you turn to the one on the right, so that no one was ever left without a conversation partner. A well-bred lady should have a very small appetite, so a young girl was often given a meal at home first before going out to dinner, so that she wouldn't disgrace herself by eating too much.
By enjoying the food.
Red was the favourite colour for dining rooms in those days. They
hence the
red aided digestion. A dining room should always be dark and masculine in style. Drawing rooms were regarded as feminine rooms. Entrance halls, passages, dining rooms, libraries, those were men's rooms. When the dinner was over, the ladies would withdraw and go to the drawing room. The men would stay behind to enjoy their port and cigars, and they could also then make use of what was kept in the sideboard cupboard. The chamber pot, because most toilets were outside in those days, so the men didn't see why they should have to go out into the cold or miss any of the conversation in the dining room. They used to use the pot right here.
right in the dining room.
In the dining room.
Thank goodness that has changed.
Yes.
Oh, coal stove.
Yes, coal stove and a gas stove. This particular gas stove dates from about the 1930s, but they had similar gas stoves from the 1850s onwards. The coal stove, of course, is earlier. And this gadget is called a bottle jack. It's for roasting meat. You wind it up with the key, hang your meat on there, hang it in front of the fire, and it turns so the meat gets cooked all round. That is the fridge, the ice chest. The man from the ice company would deliver a big block of ice. You put it on the top, and then you keep your food in the bottom. They used to chop blocks of ice out of the lakes and rivers when they were frozen in winter and store them underground in very well insulated houses, ice houses, and that would keep the ice for the summer. This big book is Mrs. Beaton's Book of Household Management. It tells you everything you need to know about cooking and running a house, but people think of Mrs. Beaton as this wise old woman who knew everything. She was only 21 when she started writing the book. It was published when she was 24, and she died at the age of 28. The first edition was published in 1861, and it was such a good book that every few years they brought out new updated versions, so you can still buy a brand new copy that will tell you about microwave cooking and all modern cooking methods.
Oh, amazing. And how old is that one?
This one is 1909, but I've got earlier ones in the shelf there. This is where men spent most of their time. Ladies had the drawing room and gentlemen had the library. And in many homes, the library was also used as a smoking room. But before a man could smoke, he had to get all dressed up. He had to put on his velvet smoking jacket and a smoking cap. These smoking clothes were all made of velvet and wool so that they would absorb the smoke. Then when he'd finished smoking, he could take off the smoky clothes and leave them behind in the room, and he wouldn't smell like smoke when he went back to the rest of the house.
These are old gramophone records. Some of the inventions were downright bizarre, like this mustache teacup designed so a man didn't get his mustache wet while drinking tea.
The next room is the music room, but you'll notice that that is a lot lighter than the rest of the house. That's because it's furnished in Edwardian style rather than Victorian. By the time Queen Victoria died in 1901, they were getting tired of the dark colours and the big heavy pieces of furniture and all the clutter. So the Edwardian period was only from 1901 to 1910, but there was a much lighter feel and small inlaid pieces of furniture. So
This is a dress from 1904. It was a wedding dress, but could equally have been used as an afternoon tea gown.
typical Edwardian furniture with the thin spindly legs. And this looks like a miniature piano, but it's actually a homophone. This one is actually 1914, so just after Edwardian, but they very often include the first few years after Edward's reign with Edwardian, because it was the First World War that started in 1914 that changed everything. So the Edwardian way of life continued up to that point. Children would only see their parents for about an hour a day, usually between 5 and 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Nanny would bring the children to the drawing room. They'd have to be on their best behaviour until they were taken back to the nursery. So this goes to their wing of the house, but the first room is the family museum room, where they put all the curiosities that they'd collected, so it would be educational for the children and entertaining for the adults.
The family museum room literally contained a bit of everything, from stuffed animals to costumes to souvenirs, pretty much anything collectible.
This is the day nursery, the children's playing room.
These children must have been spoiled. Katherine agrees.
These children are spoilt because they're allowed to have all their toys out at once. Most children, Nanny would keep the toys locked in a cupboard, and the children were only allowed one toy at a time. When they got tired of it, she'd take it away and take out another one so that they never got bored with their toys.
Oh, good idea.
The doll's house was also educational. Girls learned to run a home of their own one day by having everything in miniature that a real house would need.
How old is this house here?
My mother and I made the house to display the set of antique doll's house furniture, which was given to a little girl on their 10th birthday in the 1870s. It was a set of 14 pieces of furniture, and then it was given to me when I was a baby. So I used to play with the furniture as a child, and when I was grown up we made the house for it. Here's the butler coming to open the front door, and the housekeeper upstairs. Conservatory. Dining room and the nursery.
This is like a dream dollhouse. It's so realistic. I don't think they make dollhouses like this anymore. And
They certainly don't. Cook busy in the kitchen, assisted by the tweenie. The tweenies were the youngest maids. They were only about 10 or 12 when they went into service, and they were bullied by the older servants and made to do all the dirty work nobody else wanted to do. And the servants' stairs up to their rooms in the attic.
Next is the children's dining room.
The children's dining room, which would also be used as schoolroom, so the governess would give them their lessons here. There's the governess sitting in the a few moments of leisure before the children have their next lesson. That's a posture chair to teach the children to sit up straight. Nursery, where the small children would sleep. Nanny would either sleep in the room with them or have an adjoining room so that she could take care of them in the night. Baby's basket. Nanny's sewing machine to mend the children's clothes. And her medicine chest where she keeps the castor oil and all the other horrible medicines. This is an older daughter's room, a teenage girl. She'll soon be coming out. When a girl got to about 17 or 18, she would come out. The family would give a ball for her, and even girls living in South Africa would be sent to stay with a relative in England so that they could have a London season and be presented to the Queen and taken to all the balls and parties and hopefully come back engaged. As soon as a girl came out, her first job was to find a husband. A lot of girls came straight out of the nursery into marriage. Not much chance of a life in between. Furniture in this room dates from the 1850s and 60s, including the bed, which was called a half-tester bed with a canopy over the head. There's a hip bath in front of the fire.
This is the main bedroom where Katherine sleeps. And next to it, the man's dressing room.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor early in the morning?
There was also always a ladies' corner in the bedroom where the lady of the house could sit by the window, do her embroidery, read a book, or just relax.
This is what ladies wore in the 1850s and 60s when the very wide skirts were in fashion. That it was very impractical. It was very difficult to walk through the house without knocking everything over. Getting into a carriage was very difficult. And when a lady sat down, she had to sit very carefully, otherwise the hoops would fly up and show all her underwear. Some women even broke their noses because the hoops hit them in the face. And yet the ladies loved it. It lasted nearly 20 years in spite of all the inconvenience.
The Lindfield Victorian House Museum has been very carefully curated. There are so many details to see. I simply cannot show you everything. Katherine's knowledge of the Victorian time and culture is absolutely mind-blowing. She gives a vivid glimpse into what life was like in those times. Wow, my time here has been very educational. If you happen to be in Johannesburg, this hidden gem is well worth a visit. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.